tell us how Classroom Central is positioned to assist during the school year, what other partnerships are forming like they did in the spring. And then I want to ask you, when you think about these challenges, what should we societally be doing to help?
Okay, so that's a lot. So if I get off track, keep me on track. What Classroom Central is doing is, let me see if I can summarize this up. One of the biggest challenges that we have right now is the misconception that because kids are learning from home that they won't need school supplies. That is absolutely not true. And in fact, I think the need will actually be double this year because kids that are in this hybrid situation. So Classroom Central serves 6 school districts, CMS being the largest one that we serve, and they account for about half of the schools and half of the kids that we serve. But the other half of the districts that we work with will actually be doing a hybrid approach. So in-person and virtual learning. So for those kids, they're gonna have 2 sets of supplies because they cannot bring materials into school, and once they are in school, they cannot share materials. And that's directly from the governor. So those kids are gonna need twice the supplies. So for the students in CMS who traditionally did not come to school equipped, they relied on their teacher and their school for the materials that they needed to be successful. So it just stands to reason that if they came to school without what they needed, they're certainly not going to have it at home. And so what we're working to do is to ensure that this community understands what the need is, what the supplies are needed, and to galvanize support just like we always have at back to school to make sure that these kids have what they need. So that's kind of what the community can do. The community can support these kids by holding a virtual drive, by donating school supplies directly to Classroom Central, and we'll make sure that they get to where they need to go. They can volunteer to help us pick and pack orders. Or if none of that appeals, they can make a financial contribution and we'll go out and shop for people. We are really working hard with all of our partners in the community, so our school districts, our other nonprofit organizations, to make sure that we reach every single child that has a need. And so we're working with school districts first and foremost. We just this week have deployed 20,000 backpacks filled with school supplies that will go to 26 elementary schools in Charlotte. So when kids drive by for their orientation and to pick up their Chromebooks and their iPads, they'll also receive a backpack filled with school supplies. We're certainly grateful for that, and that was made possible by organizations like the Carolina Panthers and David and Nicole Tepper, as well as lots of other companies that have banded together to provide that, that funding to make sure that that's possible. 20,000 is awesome, and don't get me wrong, we're really proud of that, but we serve 127,000 kids. So that means that there's a long way to go in order to make sure that all kids have what they need. So what else are we doing? We've transitioned all of our teacher shopping to online ordering with curbside pickup. And with that, what we are doing is teachers are actually ordering online, and volunteers are picking and packing all of the orders. And then teachers are driving by to pick them up curbside, just like you would at the grocery store or Target, Walmart, any of those big box retailers. So we just went live with our system on Monday. And as of today, we had 904 orders, which again, for a very, very small team, we now have 8 employees for a very, very small team of people. we can't possibly do this on our own. So we really need people to come in and help facilitate that. It's great for people of all ages, really. If you've got teenagers that you're trying to get out of the house and look for something good to do, this is a great opportunity for them to help. Also, they can conduct their own school supply drives in their neighborhoods. It's always fun to see kids helping kids. I am rambling, so remind me of some of the other questions that you had.
Yeah, what you did so much in the spring in the way of partnerships. Are there any partnerships developing for the fall to address some of the at-risk needs that we talked about?
Yes, absolutely. So we have really kind of scanned the nonprofit community in Charlotte to really understand where we could have the largest impact with the least amount of effort. And so what we've landed on initially is certainly the school district, and especially at back to school time when families will be driving through to pick up technology, to pick up devices, workbooks, etc. We want to deploy as much supplies out to CMS as possible. So the backpacks were one way that we did that. We also are putting in basically bulk orders into schools so that they can basically package those things together, and if kids need pencils, they have opportunity to get those while they're driving through, or paper, etc. We're also looking at housing partners. So one of the things that we have recently just launched is basically service to all the housing partners in our community. So folks that have direct interaction with families who are in need. And so we started working with the Housing Authority in Libyan, and we just supported them with 14 pallets of basic school supplies, which will serve hundreds of kids in those public housing communities. And that's just the start of that partnership. We're looking at a partnership with Habitat for Humanity, as well as Charlotte Family Housing. And I'm still looking for other partners. So anyone that has direct contact with students that are school age that may have needs, we're open to that. We think that's absolutely going to be critical for us reaching students in a direct manner, where teachers may not have that opportunity moving forward.
Right. And we have a couple of questions in the chat. Janet asked, since we're not in our regular offices these days, where are the donation locations? And if she wanted to do a neighborhood donation location, where do the donations get delivered?
Great question. Thank you so much. That is one of our biggest challenges right now. So normally at back to school time, we have just a massive effort in the community. In partnership with WSOC TV, we run the 9 School Tools campaign, where literally last year we had 300 collection sites around the community. And most of those collection sites were businesses. And so one of the challenges that we're having right now, that most employees are working remotely, we're probably at about 33% of our school tools drives as comparison to last year. And so we're trying to get the word out for people to do virtual drives. And if you go onto our website, classroomcentral.org, you can click on how to help, donate supplies, and there's a whole lot of information there on how to run a drive, whether it's one with just a fundraising effort, or whether it's one for physical supplies. So people can do individual drives, they can do corporate drives and compete with teams, which is always fun in a corporate setting. We have the Valentine community doing a drive they call every year Color the Park. And so all the businesses down there are banding together and competing against one another. They're offering prizes, just lots of really fun, creative things that people are still continuing to do. Neighborhood drives. If you're familiar with Myers Park and the hillside street at the holidays where they collect for loaves and fishes and Second Harvest, They're doing the same thing for Classroom Central right now. It's not just for that particular street or neighborhood. Anyone can do it. You can do it through the Nextdoor app. You could communicate and have people drop supplies off on your doorstep or on your porch. And then if it's a lot of supplies, we'll actually arrange to have them picked up, or you can deliver them directly to Classroom Central Monday through Friday, 8 to noon. And we're located just outside of Uptown on Wilkinson Boulevard.
Great. Excellent. Let me make a call for any additional questions in the chat. Here's an idea from Terry. Grocery stores are staying busy. Is there any possibility of a drop-off campaign with any of our grocers?
The WSOC Non-School Tools campaign is actually a family-focused partnership. And so any of the large chains would need to go through them as sponsors. Having said that, Harris Teeter is actually doing a roundup campaign through August 11th because there's a change shortage in our country. And so you could actually shop for your groceries, and if you want to round up to the nearest dollar, all of those contributions will go back to Classroom Central, and we'll use those to purchase school supplies with.
Right.
And I believe that Publix is doing something very similar, an at the register point of sale contribution. And again, we'll turn all of those dollars donated into school supplies.
And Karen, I'm guessing that you have had to turn all of your fundraising virtual. And I know you've had some long-standing community events that are fundraising. Tell us where that stands.
Yeah, that's another challenge. So we only do one large fundraiser a year, and that's our Color a Brighter Future breakfast, which was scheduled to happen in April. And so obviously that was canceled. We're looking at potentially bringing that into a virtual format, as well as a lunch and learn that we do called Show and Tell, which is just a great way to get familiar with Classroom Central and what we do. So more to come on that. I think it's challenging. Fundraising virtually is challenging, but we've got our very first kind of foray with that, with the School Tools campaign. And so far, so good. I think that, that's become such a hallmark for this community to rally around kids and teachers that don't have what they need at back to school time. And I think Classroom Central is not the only organization kind of grieving the loss of that right now. There's so many organizations that look forward to doing that drive every year with their employees or their congregations or their book clubs or whoever it is. And so I think that, they're looking forward to supporting our organization again, even though it does look a little bit different than it has in the past. And so we think that there's great possibility to turn that into a fundraiser as well. So yeah.
Great. One last question, and it may not be a question that has an answer right now. I can't help but continue to think about the picture that you painted in our minds of these kids are at home by themselves, maybe doing online learning, maybe not, and the gap that they have in resources and potentially tutoring needs. Is there any work underway to address that, and what would that look like?
I think it's a challenge. That the answer is yes. There are some initiatives underway, and as a matter of fact, the Belk Foundation is holding a series of weekly community meetings, and it started with essentially the nonprofit community as well as Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, and it's since just mushroomed from there. And now we have just members of the community at large that are starting to dial in. It's literally grown from about 50 members to now we're over 200 just in a matter of weeks. But that is one of the initiatives, or one of the challenges that we're working on, is how do we provide supervised learning in small learning communities for children. I know that some of the housing partners are looking at doing something similar to that. It's not as easy as it sounds because there's all kinds of safety concerns when you're putting adults with children that we need to consider. And so, but having said that, while it is super challenging, I do think, and I'm like you, Susie, in that I pretty much think anything is possible. I do think that we'll see some kind of momentum on that, maybe not by the 17th, but hopefully shortly thereafter.
Great. That's very encouraging. And if there are any things that this group needs to know about or can do, we'd certainly love to hear as that thinking and those plans evolved. And I see Kara from Charlotte Family Housing here, so I'm imagining she and the team there are actively engaged in some of that thinking. Lou, anything else?
Oh, just to say that I was thinking in these extraordinary times, aren't we blessed that Karen Calder and Classroom Central are at work for our kids in this community? It's really extraordinary work, and so is she, and so is the team. We've met many of them, and they're all really special human beings. So thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.